funny friends, my funny friends, my funny friends now. My funny friends, my funny friends, my funny friends now.
Starring Drew Harrison and Will Abeles.
Hey guys, thanks for joining us for another episode of My Funny Friends. I'm one half of your hosting dynamic duo, joined by my other half, Mr. Will Abeles. Will, how are you doing, buddy?
I'm good. I wish you were there with me, but a mere 25 minutes ago, I was in line to get a coffee,
Uh-huh.
and I almost lost my goddamn mind.
What? How so?
Just there's only one person in line. They're right in
Uh-huh.
front of me, and I'm like, okay, cool. I have time to get a coffee. I'll get back, get a little snack, sit down. And this person is like, decides that now is the time that they want to learn what an espresso is. So they're just there talking to this barista, and the barista's being super nice, but they're just like, well, if you want more milk, you can add more milk. And I was like, has this person just been dropped on this earth? And the first thing they did was walk into a coffee shop. And I'm
This is
standing there
my
for
first time as a human being.
and I'm standing there for 10 minutes, just like losing my mind behind them. And then they were just like, what do you want? And I was like, I want a black coffee, medium,
Never to see that person ever again.
and I want to never see this woman again.
They go through the history of espresso.
I mean, like seriously, like I heard her. She was like, into what's an espresso? And I was like,
Oh my God.
and I was like, oh, look, I can't quite tell you, right? Like I know it's a
I was
bean.
about to
I
say,
know
so
it's
like,
just
what
like,
is, what it, what, I mean, what is an
well,
espresso?
it's concentrated caffeine. I know that much, and it's an
Okay.
espresso bean. It's the bean, which is different from
Okay.
coffee. Very
Oh,
similar, but it is different.
I thought they were all beans.
They are all beans, but they're not the same bean.
So there's coffee beans and then there's espresso beans.
I think so.
Huh.
I wish we had haters to like comment on this.
Right. Like you're all idiots. This is stupid. You don't know coffee.
listen to
I've
you
never
two.
been. You've been the coffee drinker. I've never been
Mhm.
a huge coffee drinker. I've always been my synthetic caffeine.
Yeah, you're more of a synthetic guy. I'm trying to switch over. I started drinking Celsius, and then my girlfriend
The
was like,
healthy energy drink. Yes.
yeah, and then she was like, she's like, go back to coffee, and I was like, all right, I'll go back to
Yeah.
coffee.
Yeah, I'm hooked now. I'm done.
Yeah, well, we know
I like my fizzy energy drink in the morning and my non-carbonated energy drink in the afternoon.
And I like to just sit there in traffic with you in Atlanta, and then just
Oh
pump
my
myself full of
God, dude.
caffeine and jump out in the middle of traffic.
Phew. That was
Yeah.
a good time to be like, hey, I like energy drinks. You turned into the Jim Carrey. Like, have you ever had Red Bull? I've had Red Bull. I like Red Bull. You like Red Bull?
Yeah. It really just lost my mind. Well, Drew, what have you been up to? I haven't seen you in a minute.
Yeah, man.
So what
just
been on the road, right?
Yes, March and April were very kind to me.
Yeah.
Got to do some trips. Got to go. Got to go to Carolina. Got to see my people in Carolinas.
Good.
Just got to see North and South. Didn't discriminate.
wow.
Got to see both. It was nice.
Wow.
Shout out to Keith D in Charleston for always hooking it up. I got to, do my quarterly check-in at Dead Crow. So everyone's doing good. They send their best. You need to go see
Good.
it.
I'm trying to.
Yeah. That's fair.
I've tried to.
But yeah, it's been good. Did some dates in Virginia. Did some
Yeah, you're in Richmond,
some
right?
dates in Alabama. It's just been all over the Southeast, man. Trying to plan for the summer.
Yeah.
These were my good months. Now I got to figure out what the next few months look like.
Now it's the barren wasteland and heat.
That is comedy in the summer.
Yeah, especially in the South.
Oh man, yeah. What about you? What you been up to?
I've been on the road as well. I had a pretty good run of shows in Indianapolis, which was
I do love Indy.
new.
It's a good place.
Yep. Went up to a place just outside of Indy called the Brick Room. Very
Oh.
small club, but owners were amazing. A lot of fun. And then I went down and did Don't Tell Indy, which was honestly one of the best sets I think I've had ever.
Nice.
And sometimes I realize that not having information is a good thing.
Oh no.
I was doing my joke about restaurants, and at some point I start shooting ICE agents, and I also was making fun of people that stormed the Capitol on January 6th. And those jokes do well, right? But this was getting like an elevated like applause break. I was like, what is happening? And I found out the next day that Trump was in town with the NRA convention. So these people just thought that I was like, oh, he doesn't care at all. So sometimes you're a hero and you don't even know it.
I'm glad that's the way it went though, because that could have gone the
I
other way
know.
as well. So
Well,
nice.
that's when I found that information out. I was talking to Alex Price at Black Circle the next night, and I was telling him, I was like, I'm yeah, great guy. But I was telling him, I was like, I'm almost glad I didn't know that information, because I don't think I would have told the jokes the way I did.
Right.
I would have been so
almost
cautious.
kind of scared yourself.
Yeah. So having just blind ignorance worked in my favor.
I had this opener one time about legalizing weed and Trump, and like who hates Donald Trump? Who who likes weed? Like what if he legalized it? Like, this was still when he was in office, so it was real. And I did that one night and didn't know that the entire like 3/4 of the audience was like North Carolina Democrats. Like the governor was there. Like it was.
Oh my God.
They loved it. They thought it was great.
Yeah.
But I didn't know until afterward. I was like, oh, that could have gone. I would have been in my own head and not done that joke for sure.
Right. Well, that's sort of funny, is I've been making fun of Biden a little bit recently. Not like nothing too hard.
Well, that's the thing is, man, like that's what I don't know about your comedy, but I want everyone to know if I do get in that bag, which I rarely ever do, I'm picking on everybody.
Yeah. And that's kind of what I've been doing, is like talking just the joke I've been doing is just like, you can't convince me that Joe Biden doesn't wake up every day and thinks this is all just like a fever dream. And so I just do this impression of him like waking up being like, oh, wow, what happened?
Did they talk me into running for president
again?
They did.
Let's not go back and
the chop.
I didn't believe it. Like my girlfriend told me, and I was like, no, not like, he's not doing it. He's gonna freaking die.
That's the thing, man. They're getting this wave of politicians is getting so old.
They're so old.
So, making decisions for us, and they're 6 years older than us. It's great. Good stuff.
Well,
good stuff. America.
So Indy was good, and then I went to Columbus, Ohio. Fantastic. Ooh. Don't Tell show.
Okay.
They run it like a club.
Don't Tell's taking over.
Well, and the thing is, like, I'm looking at it, and you either do it very, very right, or you do it okay.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes any sense. Like, it's never a bad show. But when they do this right, it is almost better than doing club shows. It's just a cool venue. Energy's great. And Columbus is doing it right. Indianapolis was doing it right. I mean, it was just
nice.
So much fun the way they set it up. So I did that, and then I did State College. Hung out with the
how's the fam?
Honestly, one of the more tough shows I've done, not because of the audience. It was just so loud that I really was having a hard time focusing. But it was good. It was really like a fun time. It was a blast. And like, I got to meet all my brothers, they're all graduating next week. So I got to meet all the bros, and they were all like, what do you think about Joe Rogan? I was like, don't worry about it.
Let's not go there.
I was like, they were like, it was funny because they're like, I just don't really watch it when the comics are on. I'm like, you guys sound like comics. Like, that's what all the comics say. They're like, yeah, I don't really watch Joe Rogan when the comics are on. And I was like, yeah, he is pretty good at interviewing comics.
Yeah.
And then I went to did a show in the middle of nowhere, Pennsylvania, and it was I'm pretty sure it was a cop bar, and that was rough. That was not fun.
That was
a little bit tough. That one was a tough 45 minutes. That was a little sweaty.
Did you realize it was a cop bar?
Well, the thing is, like, I don't even know if it was cops or if it was just those dudes that live in the middle of nowhere and wish they were in the military but never joined.
Oh, the cosplayers.
Yeah. So they just kind of like soup up their trucks, and they got like a a Punisher logo on the back.
That's not your
So
bros, dude.
those were not my bros. And it
Those
was
aren't your
annoying
bros.
because yeah, it was a good show, but there was like 7 of them trying to hold the room hostage, and then I broke one of them
Uh-huh.
and he started laughing. And I was like, now you're in my
I
pocket.
hate that, man. When whole group of people, it's almost like you say a joke and everyone in the room looks to see how they respond
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
before
And I
they
tried
laugh.
to Yeah, and I tried to play like the middle ground with them for a little bit, and they just weren't having it. So then I got to that Biden joke, and then they were like, "Oh, I guess that's okay." And I was like,
Okay.
"Fucking
He's
all
picking on
right,
him. That's fine. Whatever. Okay.
I guess at least that guy." But yeah, it was good. Now I'm here,
Well, good, man.
and I don't have any shows for 2 weeks.
Yeah, and I'm going to North Dakota to do comedy.
Going
Fargo.
the great White North.
Yeah, that's what I love that show. So I'm excited about going to Fargo.
Yeah, I've only heard good things, and you're going at a good time because it will not be
It's
negative
not
20
snowing.
degrees. Like when Brandon and everyone went up, and it was just
Yeah, snow everywhere. I don't do
unimaginably
well
cold.
with ice and snow. You know that. I don't like it.
Yeah, yeah. You're not
No,
a good,
I like.
you're not a,
I'll go up north in the spring and summertime.
you're not a snow bear. You're just a spring bear.
Yeah. What about you? Where's the next adventure?
Well, Drew, guess what? I have 2 weeks off from comedy, but I am making my return to New York City. But
New York
as
City.
of now, I'm not doing any stand up,
Oh
which is a
wow.
conversation for a different time, I think.
Is this stuff is are you excited you're not doing stand up?
It's sort of like this reminder of like I don't feel any like that when you leave a scene, you're like, oh, did I accomplish everything I could accomplish?
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel that anymore. I'm kind of like, no, that was it's been so difficult to book. I just want to do one show, and it's been so difficult to book that I was like, this is ridiculous.
I got you. So you're just like, I'm just gonna go have fun.
I'm just gonna go have fun. I'm gonna go see my friends. My not. I mean, I'll see some of my comedy friends, but most of my friends in New York were not comedians, so I'm gonna go see them. But I think that brings us to our topic of the day,
Topic
and that
of the day.
and that is about changing comedy scenes,
Oh,
which
okay.
both of us have done
Yes. See.
in our lifetime.
Yeah. I think one of the things you got to talk about up front too is when you first step foot in your original comedy scene. You know,
Hmm.
you're brand new, so that's like being the new kid in town. Before you even
Yeah,
change anything, you just you gotta cozy up with your locals of the scene you're given first and foremost.
yeah. Well, and it's so funny because you and I got here in Nashville about the same time. I think you were 6 months ahead
A
of
little
me,
bit
maybe.
earlier, yeah, yeah. A little
Yeah,
pre-pandemic, post-pandemic,
yeah,
or
yeah,
right in the
yeah.
middle of the pandemic.
But it was funny starting over here because when I was starting over here, the whole world was starting over because it was
Yeah.
January 2021. The vaccine just came out. People were finally going back
Doing
outside for the
outdoor
most part.
shows, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it was like a good time to start over in this place. But New York actually wasn't my first comedy scene. I had to start over in New York too.
Where was what was the first scene you had to establish yourself in?
Well, see, I think about it too. Like I started in Boston,
Mm-hmm.
but I feel like I'm doing a disservice to my Boston comedian friends that have like established that comedy scene
Mm-hmm.
and have like worked in that comedy scene because I pretty much only did shows at Emerson when I lived there.
So you were in the
And, I,
Emerson comedy scene.
and then I would do the comedy studio about once a month.
Okay.
And so I really didn't know the Boston comedy scenes. But because I was like doing the studio and doing a couple other spots around town, I felt the confidence to be like, oh, I can just go down to New York. And and then all hell
I'm from
breaks loose.
Boston.
Yeah.
So you jumped straight from college to New York.
To New York. Yeah. A couple of buddies of mine who lived together in LA when we did our internship, I was
Uh-huh.
like, I was like, well, I just remember getting and this is a pretty consistent pattern in my life is when I get bored, instead of just like going for a walk, I just make a drastic life change. and, and we were in Boston, and I think it was a necessary change to go to New York, not because of comedy, but just because I
Life.
was always a college student in
Yeah.
Boston. I only associate it with being a college student. So that was my next step to try being an adult. And then I moved to Nashville and reverted 15 years. and just went back to being a college student.
That's what this is. Oh,
Mhm.
okay. This is a regression that we
Yeah,
got
yeah,
to
yeah,
see. Okay.
yeah, yeah. I was like just about to be an adult, and then I was like, nah, 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 nah,
Nah, who wants to do
I'm
that?
doing this.
Yeah.
But so I guess the thing was, it took me a long time, but I think the one thing is, it took me a while to realize what being in a smaller scene really meant,
Hmm.
and that is like just seeing the same faces every single night. And
So you didn't see that in New York.
no, like you would see some people, right? Because if you did the same open mics every night, you would see. But New York is 7 comedy scenes in one scene, you
Mhm.
know. And so if I really didn't want to see anybody, I could just go to a different, oh, I'm going to Queens tonight. Oh, I'm going down to Williamsburg. Even with that, you can go down to like deeper into Brooklyn and go see a different scene entirely. So here,
Did you have comics that would split scenes? Like, oh, he's kind of like Manhattan, Brooklyn, like,
yeah, and there's also like the club scene versus the independent scene.
okay.
And we have that here in Nashville too, for sure. There are people you only see in certain rooms
Yeah.
versus,
I mean,
but we also only have, yeah, but we also only have one club. So it's like, well, I mean, we have Third Coast, but, you know, they like to do,
everyone's welcome at Third Coast,
yeah. But yeah, it's true. I mean, I guess you do see everybody go through there. I don't know. It was like, it's this thing where at first I really enjoyed seeing everyone all the time. And, and I don't mean that in a negative
Good
way. I
for
just
you.
say, yeah, but I just meant I enjoyed seeing everybody because I was new.
Yeah.
And then when I got to be more established here, that's when it was like, oh, this is tough to work on material, because even if I go to 2 open mics tonight, it's the same group both
Yeah.
times,
Yeah.
and like when I would see other comedy scenes, like I've always loved doing shows in Philadelphia, but I remember like when I was in New York, all my buddies in Philadelphia, like it was just drama nonstop all the time. And now that I've lived here in Nashville for a couple of years, I understand that because we just see each other so much, so you can't escape it. And especially with like one club, we're all very competitive and you're fighting for this one spot. So you're just like ripping each other's heads off all the time. But I will say, I like that for the most part, we keep our drama in house.
Yeah. For
You
the most
know,
part. Yeah.
then all of a sudden I'm getting calls from DC being like, "Hey, what's happening in Nashville?" And I'm like, "Why do you
Yeah.
know that?"
We don't want to
I'm
be
like,
the new Raleigh.
oh my god, I love it
Love
though.
Raleigh. I love Raleigh
I
fans'
love
entertainment.
it. They
I
just
love it
will,
so much.
yeah, they just will not stop.
Yeah.
Oh,
But no, like I to your point, seeing everyone every week, that's what I came up in. That's what I'm used to. It
right,
and
right,
it's almost like you always have to be on your game because you don't like once you get to a certain point in a smaller scene,
yeah,
it's almost like you can't take a night off.
yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah,
you like there was times where I was like, I want to work on this joke that I don't know if it's going to work or not, but like people expect a lot from me at this point. So like
yeah, 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 yeah.
maybe
I
I'll
understand that.
sprinkle this new joke in, but also have something to fall back on to end the night because I don't want now people come to the open mics to see the heavy hitters in the scene. So you're like, man, I don't want to disappoint them. Like
I
because
know.
in
Yeah,
our scene we had one open mic when I first started. So I started in Southern Pines, North Carolina. No
right.
comedy scene, nowhere to do comedy. If I wanted to go up, it was a mellow mushroom mixed media, and I would be the only non-music.
Comedian.
I
Yeah,
would be
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
reason it was mixed media. So I didn't ever do that. No, thank you. So then I realized I could move to Raleigh or Wilmington. Went to Wilmington,
Yeah,
and they had some smaller mics, but the
yeah,
cream of the crop was Dead Crow Thursday nights, full basement, people expecting you to be funny. You
yeah, yeah.
legitimately could crush at this open mic, and boom, now these people actually come to see you.
Yeah, right. They're
Like
like
it
looking
got to the
forward to
point.
seeing you.
Yeah, it got to the point where some
Yeah.
people that came to the club often would ask Amy, "Hey, who's opening for the headliner this weekend?" Because that's going to
Yeah.
determine on if I'm coming or not.
Meanwhile, the headliner's like
Like, I'm
Amazing.
here. Like,
Yeah, like
what about me?
because it's like it's not like one of those clubs that just gets like a me as a headliner. They get legitimately really, really talented, funny guys.
And we got super lucky because I guess because of where we were, since we were so isolated on the coast, a lot of
Yeah.
headliners didn't bring features. So we got
Yeah,
to feature for a lot of our favorite comics early on.
right. Like when we first went there, I don't think I ever realized how isolated Wilmington was from the rest of the North Carolina comedy scene. Like it really
Yeah.
is its
So
own thing over
3 hours
there.
away from it, or 2.5 from Raleigh and 3.5 from Charlotte.
Yeah, and then
One
even
more
if
than
we
that.
want to go to like Asheville or Greensboro or anything, it's like
Opposite sides of the
yeah, yeah.
state. Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember it's like trying to put runs together, and I was like, all right, I'll do Asheville, I'll do Greensboro, I'll do the Triangle, and then I'll go over to Wilmington. And then just Wilmington was always the part that kind of fell apart because it was its
Yeah.
own
That's why we always
scene.
got paired with like Myrtle Beach and like the other
Yeah,
coastal states
yeah,
or the other
which
coastal scenes.
makes so much more sense.
Yeah. Easier to
Yeah,
go up and down that coast than across the state, you know.
yeah, yeah, definitely.
But yeah.
So
I
for
mean, but
you,
that made it to where you had to be like, we didn't have, it was quality over quantity with the opportunities. You know, like
sure,
you didn't get to rep your stuff a lot, but it was in front of an audience.
right?
So that was, I to be honest with you, I think early on when you're not really burning up the notebook, it was a little more beneficial
Yeah. Well, and that's sort of
to
what
really
Nash.
hammer home like I grew a 20 pretty quick in that environment.
Yeah, 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 and that's also we started at a certain time where growing 20 minutes mattered a lot more than it does now,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, because you can just do a 7 minute set forever now, you know,
And well, we
and
talked about it, you know, coming up in the South, you're geared towards getting ready to be on the road. Like
yeah,
that's how you have to try to make it in the South, is you have to grind the
yeah,
road. Because you know, a lot of us enjoy living in the South. We don't want to move to New York or LA or Chicago. Like,
right,
so for us, it's to hurry up and get that feature spot so you can get on the road.
yeah, and New England was the same way. Is like everyone just did the New England circuit over and over and over again. And I actually remember a past guest of ours, Blake Wexler. I remember I want to say we had just graduated, so I think we were out in the real world. But I remember him getting like a headliner spot, like a legitimate headliner spot. And I remember talking to him, and I was like, "How did you pull that off?" He goes, "I just lied."
I just
He
lied.
goes, "I just lied, and they expect me to do 45 minutes." And I was like, "What are you going to do?" And he's like,
45
"I
minutes.
guess 45 minutes." I mean, like I'm just going to figure this out. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the first couple of times you do 20, you don't really have it,
No, 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 not at all.
but you're
And
trying
like,
your hardest.
yeah, and you're just kind of talking out of your ass and you're using every single thing. Well, so that was a nice thing about Nashville when I first got here is there was only like two open mics open at the time. And so I could just play the hits for the first like 5 months.
That
But
was
then once I,
nice when your A
yeah,
material can be your open mic material for a little bit because you're new.
right.
That's the pro of moving to a new scene, is all that material is new, heard, unheard material again.
I know. And it's so funny because that imposter syndrome kicks in. You're like, you freaking idiots. Like this.
I'm crushing it right now.
Yeah, yeah.
But
But
then
then you
you're
run out of
like,
that material
yeah. Then you're like,
and
oh, I
that's
got
when
to
it
write
catches
again.
up. Yeah, I remember the first time like jokes started falling flat at the mic, and I was like, oh, and now I'm just like everybody else, you know. And there's that
The new
it's a
sheen
mix,
is worn off.
yeah, and it's a nice feeling because you're like, oh, cool, I'm part of the team, like I'm part of the scene now. But it's also this terrifying thing where you're like, now I gotta write, and you're like, and what am I gonna write about? Who am I gonna write about? It's like, ah, okay, I just want to kind of do the hits, but all right, it's
I just
fine.
feel like 2020 and 2021 was hard on everyone because no one really knew what to write.
Oh my
Right.
God. I remember going to comedy bar and I was like, I'm in a city. Most cities lean blue, but I did not know that I was in Nashville, Tennessee, So I remember like making fun of people for not wearing masks and just silence. And I was like, what?
Well, and that wasn't even necessarily a political thing at that point. Because I mean, don't get me wrong, it was,
No.
but I think a lot
Right.
of people that didn't care either way
Yeah.
were just tired of talking about it.
Well, and we were like, we're at a comedy club. So when you think about it, you're like, what are we even talking about here?
Yeah, but like I came here to escape this. I don't want to
Yeah,
keep
right.
talking about this. Like I
Right.
learned early on because I mean it's all we had is staring at your own walls for a year, you know. But I
Right.
learned
Right. Right.
real quick that when we came out of that pandemic, people don't want to talk about this anymore.
Unless you're in New York. And that's a crazy thing is like, I couldn't tell you what the comedy scene's like now. I just know that the guys that I really, really respect have stayed on the road for the most part, you know, like, and I don't know what that is. I don't know what's happening back home that, is keeping them on the road, but
Yeah, I'm
they
good.
don't, yeah, they don't seem to have any complaints about it. That's
Yeah.
I guess what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the comics I knew in New York either aren't posting a lot about shows or they're just not going to a lot of shows or they're back in their other scene because they got tired of New York to begin with.
Yeah. Well, so it's funny with North Carolina, I feel like, and again, it's like, it's all bubbles, right? It's like just who you see on Facebook and who you see on Instagram, and I'm
Mhm.
sure if I did a deeper dive, it wasn't the case. But I felt like all the North Carolina guys went home
Yeah.
and
A
then
lot didn't.
stayed. Yeah. And then just stayed. And it seems like they're doing so much better than what they were doing with the grind up in New York. And that is something nice about, like, and again, I can't speak to the scene now, but there is something really nice about New York is that like it does teach you to succeed elsewhere if you do have to leave,
Yeah.
because it's just I'm not gonna say a work ethic, but it's just like it's so just clawing at each other just to get 5 minutes, that you just when you go to a place that like you don't have to fight like that, you can actually just enjoy comedy and the writing and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, man. I don't like I thought it was stressful enough when they would hide the sign up sheet at Dead Crow somewhere in the building and you had to find it because we had always had a mob sign up. So it
Oh, really?
started hiding it. So that was their way of weeding out some people. But I
Yeah, I
thought that
just
was brutal. I couldn't imagine trying to like the 1 week I spent up in New York. We went to one of those mics where you drop your name off, and they're
yeah,
like,
yeah,
"Yeah,
yeah.
check back in like 2.5 hours."
Like 4 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. There was
What?
one mic that I actually really enjoyed, but the sign up started at noon and you would get there for the actual mic at like say 7 or 8 o'clock. And they didn't say no on this list. So however long the list was is how long that mic went. And I remember like showing up and my name was like 65th or something, just something
How much
insane.
time did everyone get?
Like 3 minutes, 4 minutes, something like that,
Still
maybe
though,
less.
God, that's 3
Yeah.
hours to.
And I would like leave and come back and they'd be like, all right, this is the 30th comic. And I'd just be like, guys, take me off the list. Like, I can't be here till 3 a.m. And I
Yeah.
understand some people go through with it and love that part of comedy where they're just like, no, no, I gotta hit every mic and I gotta be out till 3 or 4 a.m.
I mean, I had that
And
phase, but I'm no longer in that phase.
sure, yeah, when I was 24, it was a blast.
Yeah.
But then you just get like one peep of actual life. And they're like, oh, hey, having a girlfriend's kind of cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hanging out with her is kind of fun. Like
Yeah. Like I
instead of
definitely
just
feel like that time is beneficial where you're hanging out at the club till 2, you're
yeah,
networking
yeah,
with headliners, you're picking their brains. You're getting a car full of comics from one city and going to do 3 mics at a new city, like that's
yeah. It's a blast.
great. It's what builds you up in the scene and builds those bonds that now when someone in your group gets a show, hey, guess what, you've built that bond, you're on their show,
You got the
it's
crew. Yeah,
it's nice, but I can't stay in that. I can't do that anymore.
yeah. We're too old. So what? I guess what made you? Because so I went from a one of the biggest scenes in the entire world, not even just like the entire country. I mean, New York's huge, but I went from that to this. But yours was a step up from Wilmington to to Nashville. So what made you like why here and not like Atlanta or Chicago or something like that?
I feel like Atlanta got oversaturated.
And they
I
did
feel
shut
like
down pretty hard.
I feel like a
Yeah.
lot of people went to Atlanta. A lot of
Yeah.
comics from Wilmington went to Atlanta,
Okay.
and I love Atlanta. I love traveling to Atlanta, but I already had connections in Atlanta.
Yeah.
I was like, I can go do that sometime. So I didn't have any connections in Nashville. So I was like, let me build connections in Nashville. And it's so central to everything.
It is.
Like traveling, which is what I moved here to do, has been amazing because we got a great
Yeah.
airport if you need it. You got
Mhm.
24, 65, 40, like everything's right here. Just jump
Right.
on a highway and go. I still wanted to keep all those connections I had in the East Coast, so I didn't want to move too far from the East Coast because
Yeah.
I knew I wanted to dip into that, at least every quarter. And it's hard to do because we were looking at Denver and Nashville, and
Right.
I absolutely, outside of the city of Denver, had zero connections in the West Coast. So that ultimately was the deciding factor, is to move to a bigger scene, but not too far from what I've already established.
Well, and I believe, and I can't remember if a guest talked about this or if we just talked about it with them, but Denver is it's tough to get outside of Denver.
Yeah.
Like it's a great scene. It's huge. But it is tougher to travel. So yeah, Nashville is really good for that. I mean, like we were just talking about all the spots we just hit in the last couple weekends, and
Yeah.
like even getting from
I
here
didn't
to
buy a
State
plane ticket.
College. Yeah, I didn't buy. Columbus was 5 hours, maybe six, and then Columbus to State College was five, and that is
There you
so
go.
much better than doing the 9 hour treks all over the place. It just drive you crazy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess
It's great, man.
my only, I guess, so I didn't think about it the way you did, where like, I'd spent years establishing all these connections in New England, because that's kind of New York's easy outlet to go up to. A lot of my best friends in comedy are from the Burlington comedy scene, and I like all this time putting it together. And then instead of like thinking to myself, maybe just like go up there, I was like, let's just burn it down and go to Nashville. And it's been really cool because I got to like, I don't, I'd never done a show in Atlanta until I moved to Nashville. And now I have all those connections down there and like building it up in Alabama. And yeah, so I guess, it's nice to build that, but now I feel like I'm having a harder time going back to the Northeast and getting all that
That's fair.
uh
Yeah, you want
going
to keep
again.
making the connections and building the bridges, but you still got to
Yeah,
get
yeah.
back to it.
Yeah, and then I'm gonna burn it all down here and then go to Denver and start all over again anyway. So it doesn't none of it matters in the first place.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just one of
You're
those things where
crazy for wanting to do another new scene.
well, that's more about like it's not really about the scene. It's more about just like a different way of life,
Yeah.
you know. And like I've appreciated my time here, obviously. And it's gonna suck leaving some people behind, but I'm just at sort of point where I'm like, I just don't really want to live here anymore.
No, I got you. Tennessee's
You know?
turning a lot of people off.
Yeah, and it's
I
just
get
price wise too. It's like, well, what's the difference?
it.
You know what I mean? Because I can't even say like, oh no, I like love how cheap it's been when it's not. When it's just not at all.
Everybody's expensive now. Like it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter where
That's
you
why you and
live.
me
It's all gonna be
we'll
expensive.
go. Well, we're gonna go live in Southern Pines together, right?
It's getting expensive there too, bro.
Is it? Yeah, I
Yeah.
was gonna say maybe we get a duplex. You live on one half, I live on the other half.
Yeah.
We'll
It'll be
knock
about
on the wall when I need
two
sugar.
grand each month.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Well, if you could,
It's expensive.
what's
everywhere.
yeah, it is. So what's like a comedy like what's I don't know because you know how like you have I don't know how I'm trying to articulate this like how you have like your main scene like you had Wilmington,
Mhm.
I had New York, whatever it is. Who and I kind of just briefly touched on this with Burlington. Who was your like home away from home comedy scene?
I had two. One was Greenville, North Carolina.
Okay.
Shout out to Matt White. Always made me feel Matt White, Eric Schaus, the professor. Always made me feel comfortable up at old
Mhm.
ECU. And I went to East Carolina, so I knew Greenville a little bit. And I had friends that actually finished college there, so I got to go and hang out with them a lot. So Greenville was one, and then before all the crap that happened to them, Columbia, South Carolina.
Oh,
Really,
yeah.
I'm excited because I do get to go back to Columbia at the end of June.
Nice.
I would go down there a lot, and then they had some unfortunate events happen, and I didn't get to. They really just built that comedy scene back up. So shout out to Topher and Wayne and Jen and Ryan for building that scene back up because it was
Putting
great.
the
It was a
work in.
great spot in the South for a long time. So glad they're getting back to where they were.
It's funny how just one guy can ruin everything.
Ruin it.
It's like, and it's just
Well,
so,
and
and
money.
that's all money, yeah. But that is the unfortunate thing about a small scene is you can't escape these people.
Well, that's the thing is if you're in a small scene, you got to make sure you vibe with that small scene
Sure.
because one or
Yeah.
two people are going to run that small scene.
Yeah. I remember, I'm not going to say which city it was, but I remember like recently I was going to a new city that I've performed in once or twice, but not heavily. And I remember like someone reached out on Facebook about doing a show at their club. And then immediately my DMs were flooded with like other local comics from that scene being like, do not mess with that guy. And like, I appreciate it because I wouldn't have known otherwise. You
Right,
know what
right,
I
right,
mean?
right, right. That's the thing,
But
man. It
that's,
sucks.
yeah. Yeah. But it was a quick like, well, that went from having 5 shows to only doing one. But, I don't think it's a
But
bad
did it
thing to
save
still,
you a headache later on? You know,
yeah, probably. I mean, and that's one thing that I have always tried to stick to is like having morals in doing comedy.
oof, you're a
I think it's hard.
sucker.
Yeah, I think it's harder to keep your morals and I know, but that's a conversation for a different day, isn't it, Drew?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I would say Burlington was probably my home away from home. Portland, Maine, like there was only like 1 or 2 shows there, but it was
I was
just
about
one
to
of
say, how
those.
many shows in Portland you
Yeah,
did?
there's not a lot, but I just like I had friends from college that went up there, and it was just like one of those cities that I was like, this is so much fun. So I always felt very welcome there when I would go up. And honestly, Denver's sort of
Yeah,
become
I mean
that's
Denver
why
is
I'm
fantastic.
yeah, and that's why I'm not too nervous about a move next year because there's guys that I see and I get to give them a hug like it's, long lost brother kind of stuff. And you're just you don't feel that kind of like nervousness of like trying to start over so much. You're like, oh no,
Good. Well,
I
go
gotta,
take over so I can come visit.
yeah, because that's what Denver needs is another white guy talking about his dad issues. Luckily, I don't ski or snowboard really. At least I have some. That's my diversity. Is I do ski,
Mm-mm.
but of course I
Yeah.
ski. But look at me.
I got a
But
snowboard hanging above my head right now.
when was the last time you snowboarded?
It's been a while. My knees have given
I was
out
gonna say, man,
over
I
the
didn't think
years.
your knees could. Yeah,
It's probably about 5 years ago.
I could see you looking
Hung them
pretty
up.
cool in a. Yeah,
I
I
was
could see
good.
you.
I was good at
Yeah, I bet.
snowboarding. Man. I was.
Yeah,
I hate that my body gave up on me way before I wanted to stop doing athletic things.
yeah,
You know,
and it's
like
just so expensive.
oh god,
It is one of
yeah.
those things where you're like, why, why,
Why
why
does
is
your
it all so expensive?
yeah? But also, why does your body give up at like your mid 20s? Like you got a whole nother like 3/4 of a life to go,
Well,
but
isn't
your
that one of
body's
the?
like,
Yeah, but isn't that one of those conversations of like, well, humans are only supposed to live to be a certain age?
we're outliving our
We're outliving our
we're out
our
shooting our out kicking our
our
coverage.
yeah, our bodies are like, well, stop doing this.
You're supposed to die at 30. What happened?
Yeah. This
Yeah.
is how we slowly divulge. The next thing I know, you're on a computer being like, let me actually just look this up. See if this is real. Like, oh
Life
God.
expectancy was 34 years old.
And our next guest is a conspiracy theorist out of Tampa.
Oh man. But yeah, what is the main thing that you think young comics forget about when they go to a new scene? Like, if you could go back and tell young you going into a new scene, what would you do differently?
Actually, when I first got here, Brad Sativa, local comic here, is great. Um, he didn't really give me any advice, but he acknowledged what I was doing, and it was just getting to know the scene, just getting to know the people. Giving everyone at least a chance to get to know them, even if I didn't like their material or whatever it was, just like getting to know them as people a little bit. Um, and yeah, and that's it. I mean, just get to know who's around you. You know what I mean? And like, I've never really believed that all comics have to be friends. Like, I don't think, there's,
No, just the respect's got to be there.
but yeah, like, try and respect one another and just, you will find your friends in that way. You know what I mean? Like, just,
Yeah.
the first thing I would do is just hit the mics, hit the bar shows, hit everything, and just hang out and get to know everybody. And very quickly you'll find out who you like and who you don't like. But
Yeah.
like, also who's going to make you not a better comic, but who you can write with, who you can
Yeah.
run an idea by, that kind of thing.
That's what I was going to say, is just come in humble and not know, like, just you're not going to know maybe where your spot is in the scene right from the get go.
Yeah,
You'll pick it up, like, and you do have
yeah,
you do need to give back to the scene in some way,
yep.
shape, or form,
I believe in that
whether
too.
that be in a show or helping a younger comic out that needs some guidance. I mean, don't be a creepy dude. We don't need any more creepy dudes.
No,
Like,
no.
the single female needs help writing. Oh, you want to write together? Don't do that.
That is like,
Mainly
that's
say
probably
do the show, but book a show or host an
yeah.
open mic or get into a rotation with someone, give back some way, shape, or form.
Well, and also I think expanding your network by working together, right? I mean, like, how many road runs have we done together, and we've each been able to help the other one find a new show or whatever it is,
Uh-huh,
and I think that's very beneficial.
for sure.
Um, and I do kind of miss the 2021 days where you know, it was weird because I feel like there was things happening in this scene that I was unaware of because I hadn't been living here long enough to know them. And I know there were some people that still weren't coming out to shows and that kind of thing. And I know there was friction there, but I sort of miss like the old Twin Kegs days where it was just like, you did whatever you had to do during the day and then you got to see everybody at night. Um, but then as things like, started opening up and people started moving around again, I feel like the competitiveness came back, right? Where it was like, oh, right, this is a job and it's a very difficult job and it's very hard to get ahead in. So we kind of lost the plot there a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Need a lot more working together and not a lot more competitive
yeah,
stuff. But
yeah. And I don't know. Maybe it's
screaming
coming back
into the void.
around. Yeah, I know. But we'll see.
Yep. Well, what you got coming up? What you excited about?
What do I got coming up? Actually, May is going to be pretty fun. I'm off for 2 weeks while I'm in New York and doing all that stuff. I am headlining my first comedy festival,
Noise.
and I think without any surprise, it is I am a honorary ally at a pre-Pride LGBTQ plus / military comedy festival in Pensacola, Florida. Uh, and if you had told me all that in one sentence 5 years ago, I would have been like, that checks out. But I'll be doing that at the end of May. I'm doing Stardome in Birmingham for the first time at the end of May. I'm really excited about that. I got a clean show in Mobile, which I've never done before and never been. So we'll see,
How
see what
much
that's
time
like.
clean do you have to do?
Like 45 minutes. I'm gonna be doing a Blake Wexler. I'll figure it out.
Oh man, that's hilarious.
I know, but hey, I mean, the thing is, most of my jokes are only like a couple curse words away from being clean.
Mhm.
Like I can adjust it, and I'll probably just borrow your act.
Okay, yeah. Charge a rental fee.
Just keep saying Drew Harrison over again. But I got that. Go down to Atlanta, which I haven't been back in a while. I'm doing like a one night there, and then I'm going to Knoxville for 2 nights. Yeah, so I'm just kind of hitting the road again, and I guess maybe I'll do a show in Nashville if someone invites me. What do
We
you
still
got?
got Stone Cold Sober every
Oh, we got Stone Cold.
first
Yeah,
Friday
first
at 9
Friday.
p.m. at
Did we
13th
talk
Street.
about the last one?
No.
when you let me in charge?
Oh no, we didn't.
We talked about
What
it yet?
happened? What happened? What did
Well,
you
I'm
do?
not gonna say a woman took her shirt off, but that did happen. So I
A
am
woman
gonna say
took
it.
her shirt off.
I told you about that.
Did you?
Okay, so if you don't know, for our listeners at home, Stone Cold Sober is a head-to-head competition where two teams go at it. One drunk, one sober, one inebriated in a different way. And I don't like the part where I have to pick who gets the biggest cheers. And so Drew and Jasper let me on my own. And so I brought audience members on to represent the comics. And I brought up this a couple like in their 50s to represent Zach Townsend and Ryan McComb. And I'm standing behind the couple. So I put my hand over the guy who was representing Zach. Big Roar. Zach had a great set. He ended up winning that one. But Big Roar, put my hand over the woman's head to represent Ryan. Also a cheer, and then she just lifts her shirt up. And I was like, literally, these guys left me in charge. And without any like I did nothing. Like
You
I
did
did
that.
nothing.
Don't
I
say you did
nothing
nothing.
wrong.
You did that. You caused that.
I did nothing wrong.
Nope.
Anyway, but the funny thing is, Zach still won.
That's
the guy still got
Zach's
the
set
ladder
was funnier than Boobies.
than a woman. But you know, she kept her bra on, so it wasn't full. Like I think we would have actually been in some pretty serious trouble if it had gotten to.
I don't know if it'd be there in our contract.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like it becomes a strip club then. But if you if that's the kind of action you're into, first Friday of every month, come check out Stone Cold Sober.
Check it out. Awesome.
And
man.
what do you get? What are you doing the rest of May?
I got Virginia Beach. I'm gonna be in Virginia Beach in the middle of the month, and then I'm just doing some local stuff, doing some Nashville shows. Huh?
Oh, look at you!
Yeah.
Look at you!
See, it can be done. I'll be back in. Be back in I'll be back in Chattanooga at the end of the month doing a showcase at Comedy Catch.
Oh, excellent!
And then doing a Pride show in June. I'm excited. Will leaving me on my own to do that. But,
I know. I'm sorry. I'm gonna go explore the northwest, actually, northwest.
That's fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
Check out everything on Instagram at Laugh with Harrison. Follow Will's summer excursions as he goes through New York and doesn't do comedy.
Genuinely thought you were gonna be like, check out some of Will's crap.
Did I say anything wrong? You see what this
No, you didn't.
You see what he expects me to say.
Just for the way, I don't know, just the way
you see people see this is look just young comics out there. If you're looking which path to take, look at the path of Mr. Will Abeles, who is stressed out of his mind, worried someone's about to talk trash. Or you can go to a small southern scene and be relaxed and laid back like me. So
that's true. If you have your option of scenes to come up in, don't start in New York. That's the moral of the story. You'll be losing your hair. Yeah, you're gonna be losing your hair.
Yeah. But yeah, shout out to Project Nerd for having us part of their family. They got a film festival coming up in Denver, so go check that out. Check out all their great content and stay tuned. We'll see you next time.
Did Project Nerd make that?
Hey guys, we are back for you gotta laugh at me, don't you? Yeah.
Well, every time you call to start the show, every single time.
What?
You always cough. You always cough to start the show.
It's how I start. It's my process.
Okay. All right. Fine. We'll mess with your process.